Hey, everybody, welcome on back. It's the Rubbin' Is Racing podcast. It's brought to you by NASCAR. I know it's usually Spider's place to scoop stuff like this, but had a dinner with NASCAR last week, and looks like they are renewing their relationship with us for another season. So for
Let's
people who are
go.
wondering or wishing that we weren't going to come back next season, y'all can go fuck yourself. Now, so NASCAR, we're going to be doing a bunch more races next season. We're going to be getting a bunch more of the talent in-house at Barstool involved, and we are thrilled. We're thrilled with the way that it's gone with NASCAR so far, and we're going to try and keep this thing going. This week is Auto Trader Echo Park Automotive 400. Way too big of a name. Way too fucking big of a name for a race. It's from Texas Motor Speedway at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Sunday, September 24th on USA. This is the last playoff race on USA before we jump to NBC. So everyone tune in on Sunday at 3:30 Eastern Time for the Texas Motor Speedway Auto Trader Echo Park Automotive 400. All right, so in the round of 16, we had Larson win at Darlington, we had Reddick win at Kansas, and now we have Denny winning in Bristol. The round of 12, which is coming up, we're going to go Texas, Talladega, and Roval. We'll start off this podcast as we normally do, and that's with headlines. For the third year in a row, it was announced this week that the Clash at the LA Coliseum is back. It's going to be Sunday, February 4th. It's not a points race, as everyone knows. It hasn't been a points race. It'll continue to not be a points race, kind of an exhibition. How do you guys feel about it? You looking forward to the Clash? I've always said it's a better race to go to than to watch on TV. What do you think?
I think they do a good job with it, but I don't know that it should be this long lasting. I think part of the novelty of it is the fact that it's kind of like a one-off event. If it becomes an annual event, that kind of loses its cool. I'm not saying they shouldn't race there, but I would like to see them eventually go to a different track, different city, different football stadium, and do the same thing. Get more fans in on the sport. Quigs?
I just don't see like that race ever becoming something that everyone's excited for every year, other than the fact that it's the first like NASCAR event. Like it's not great what it is. Like for something to be like, I don't know, once you get past 2 years and you're going to the third, are they planning on doing this 20 years from now? Um, I think I back when they did North Wilkesboro All-Star race, I was saying I feel like they should make that the first race of the year, or kind of bring back like old tracks that have never been run. Like I think that would have a lot more like of an impact. I think it'd be cooler than doing the Coliseum again.
Well, drivers haven't been shy, and drivers are often shy about commenting on anything, as we know, but they haven't been shy about saying how much of a pain in the ass it is to go out to LA for this, right? They don't get paid a lot of money to go and do this exhibition and then come back for Daytona to then go back out to the West Coast. Just from
Yeah.
a logistics standpoint, it's a nightmare. So I think that the way that it opens up into a new market in LA, and you see the people who are in the stands are a lot of first time race goers, so it is very cool. But I think to Spider's point, it's a big fucking country that's filled with a ton of different arenas, coliseums. Maybe there's something different about the LA Coliseum, which lends itself into being a small track. I know it's probably bigger than most football stadiums, right? Because it has a track around it. But I got to believe there's someplace else in the country. Or maybe start in LA and then start your West Coast like jaunt, right? Do the West Coast stuff where in Phoenix and Las Vegas and whatnot, and then come back and do Daytona 3 or 4 races into it. I don't know. It just seems like they're shooting themselves in the foot from a logistics standpoint. We'll probably be there again, and like I said, it's a ball. If you're a
Yeah.
West Coast guy, show up to that thing. They always have like somebody like really cool doing the concerts there and stuff. So it's a ball. We love going to it, but yeah, maybe share the wealth here, like spread it around. There's a bunch of stuff that was announced this week as far as tracks go. Outside of that, both of the Bristol Motor Speedway races next season will be on the concrete. After 3 years where the spring race at the track was done with the cars on tons of dirt piled on these high banked like short track, NASCAR will have the 2 races on the concrete next year. I love the idea of dirt racing. I don't think that this next gen car really took well to it. So I'm okay with this. And I think we spoke about it the first time. If there was another true dirt track that they wanted to then go to race on, that would probably make more sense to me. So I'm okay with 2 Bristol concrete races. You guys cool with that or no?
Yeah, I'm with you on this one, Large. I think Bristol is one of the best tracks on the whole circuit, and part of it lost its luster when they covered it in dirt. It was a cool experiment, but I'm of the opinion that they should take it to a traditional dirt track, something that was naive fans like myself. We're only really watching like what you see on TV or what you see on Sunday, Cup Series for the most part. I'm unfamiliar with these dirt tracks. I would love to see NASCAR capture and sell one of these like main crown jewel dirt tracks in the NASCAR Cup Series. I don't think it should be Bristol. Show me an authentic, real dirt track.
Yeah, I mean Bristol's Bristol. You don't if it's not like broke, don't fix it. I don't think you need
Yeah.
to throw dirt on it. You're gonna get a good race on the pavement no matter what.
And I think the
But
closer go ahead.
I don't think it was a total failure. Like it was a cool thing to try. I'm glad that they're pulling the plug on it now and not trying to like force it forever. But yeah, it wasn't awful, but you don't need to do that at Bristol, I don't think.
And I think it's what we were just saying. It relates back to the LA Coliseum thing. Like they've done it now for 3 years on the spring race, and they're going to move on. They'll move back to concrete, and perhaps there is a dirt track in our future somewhere else. One last thing I'm going to say about tracks: NASCAR is not competing at Road America in 2024. Season ticket holders were told over the weekend that for the first time since 2009, Road America will not host a NASCAR race next year. This doesn't seem like one of those things where NASCAR is stepping away forever, but they're going to take a little bit of it's a short-term breakup. With they're going to agree to see other people. So if people who are big fans of the racing at Road America, or who have like tickets to go to see race at Road America, you're fucked in 2024. That's just the way that it is.
I like that track.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was really fun. I think they had it there 4th of July, maybe, if I'm not mistaken, the race there. And, yeah, I had a really good time watching that race for whatever reason. I just remember, obviously I watch every week, but that race stuck out to me like, damn, this is cool. Also, that's one of the road courses I'm fond of, so I'm fine with it being on the schedule. I would prefer it to be on the schedule than some of these other ones, to be honest.
Yeah.
That's got to be such a big hit to a track just because I don't know, like tracks are massive. They probably have so much maintenance and like you're getting your payday off of a few events a year. Like just getting one of those like taken away from you has to like kill tracks. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I didn't even think about that, but even from like a concession worker standpoint, whatnot, that's got to really hit him in the wallet. Speaking about the wallet, BJ McLeod got the bag. When I heard that Spire, when LiveFast sold their charter to Spire for $40 million, one of the things that I felt bad about was that BJ would no longer be wheeling a car next year because that charter is now gone. But I didn't realize that he's one of the 3 owners of LiveFast. So BJ McLeod just fucking cashed a check, and I couldn't be happier. These charters now have gone up from being $3 or $4 million just a couple of years ago to now, and let's call it what it is. This LiveFast group is basically lap cars going for $40 million. Congratulations. I think that's great and he can either do he can do a couple of things because he still has his tentacles, his thick fingers in, I think, Truck and Xfinity. So he's still going to see. I shouldn't have said thick fingers. That was kind of fucking
I was
creepy.
like, what the fuck are you talking
I don't know. He's like, but he's one of those guys I wanted in the bar fight, BJ McLeod. He's the guy who has like the affliction pain scheme. So he kind of scares the shit out of me. And now he's got a fucking pocket full of money. So congratulations to him.
He's the best.
Yeah. And then the corresponding headline with that, Zane Smith is being brought up. So Spire apparently has one of those relationships with Trackhouse. So Zane Smith will now be wheeling a car for Spire next year and having a relationship with Trackhouse where Trackhouse, gives them support on a couple of different levels. I'm going to go right to you, Spider. How do we feel about Zane? And we've had Zane on the show. We've had him on the show, and we put his feet to the fire as far as what he ate at Long John Silver. He failed miserably when we asked him, by the way. But how do we feel about Zane Smith being in a Spire/Trackhouse car in the Cup Series next year?
Well, speaking of failed miserably, Large, I think that can be said about Ford here.
Yeah.
Ford loses their top prospect, in my opinion. I don't even know who else they have waiting in the wings. We just see Toyota seems to have a surplus of guys between Ty Gibbs, John Hunter making his rookie year next year. You got Sammy Smith. There's a line of people to come at Toyota, and even Chevy, you got guys lined up. But Ford, it's like, I don't know. They let Zane Smith get away. He was their most promising young prospect, in my opinion. And now I don't really know who that is. Hopefully this means good things for my friends Riley Herbst and Haley Deegan. Hopefully they can move up the ladder. But disappointing for Ford.
Yeah, and I don't even know how Trackhouse is.
Congratulations. I didn't say I'm super stoked.
Oh, yeah.
I also want to say I'm pumped to watch Zane in the Cup Series, and I think he's going to do good. And I think hopefully this car should be pretty competitive. We'll see.
I think it's going to be much more competitive with the help of Trackhouse. But Trackhouse now has to also find a couple of spots for SVG next year, who's going to be, some Cup, some Xfinity, some truck, from what I understand. So they're going to have their hands full. So hopefully Zane gets as much attention as he needs to succeed in the Cup level. But yeah, friend of the firm, friend of the show. So wish him nothing but good luck. Rocket ship of a fiance. I don't think that he's married yet. So I always love to follow up on that shit, Bonk. And so good luck. Congratulations to Zane Smith. The Kaulig deal wasn't as big as what we thought, right? They had teased that handshake photo, and people ripped it apart like the Zapruder film. Spider and I both commented on it, saying that he thought it was Bubba Wallace, which I thought was very funny, and I thought it was Tony Breidinger, which was a little bit less funny. But it winds up it's going to Daniel Hemrick. He'll drive the number 31 car in 2024. This is after Justin Haley moved from Kaulig to Rick Ware, for people who don't remember, and everyone was like, what's Justin Haley doing? And then Hemrick is a 32-year-old driver, not a young guy. He's returning to the Cup Series after 4 years away. So this is like a John Hunter Nemechek story almost. His run in the RCR number 8 car in 2019 was not very successful. He only had one top 5 in that year in 2019. But he's an Xfinity Series champion in 21, and Kaulig is banking that he'll be better in this next-gen car. So, yeah, so that's one of the new guys. When we have guys who are up for Rookie of the Year next year, we're going to have some old heads, like Hemrick and Josh Berry. It's not going to be these fresh-faced people, yeah.
Will Daniel Hemrick count as a rookie next year? I don't think he will, right?
I guess, will John Hunter and him not count as?
I don't know how that works,
Neither do
but
That's a good question.
They both have made substantial amount of starts in the Cup Series. But yeah, I'm a little bit underwhelmed with the signing. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm a fan of Daniel Hemrick. I respect and appreciate his skill. I rooted for him when he was at RCR, and I like the fact that we're getting to see these veteran guys, like you mentioned, Josh Berry just a second ago, Large. Him and Daniel Hemrick, two guys on the wrong side of 30. I'm making that sound super old, but compare in the Xfinity field staked with young kids. These guys are fighting to get onto the Cup Series, and I'm glad to see that pay off for them. Kaulig's been pretty loyal to Hemrick, so it's good to see him get rewarded. But at the same time, I don't know. This kind of is weird to me, because looking back, like the Justin Haley news was like breaking, shocking. I didn't see that coming. Mm-hmm. So for them to replace him with Daniel Hemrick is like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe he saw more value in the multi-year deal with Rick Ware, but it just seems strange to me. To me, if you're going to be showing him the door, not re-signing Justin Haley, it should be for good reason, whether that be SVG or Zane Smith or Austin Hill.
No,
It's just crazy. No, yeah, Noah. I mean, to me, this whole rumor first started with Austin Hill leading the charge for the car,
right.
And then to see him stick with RCR and not really have a clear path to Cup in the immediate future is pretty stunning. So, I don't know, kind of mild underwhelmed move from Kaulig, rather. Excuse me.
And then one of the other young punks. So Carson Hocevar. Okay, so we all know that John Hunter will be jumping in with Legacy Motor Club for 2024. But in the meantime, Carson Hocevar was brought in to wheel the 42 for a couple of races, and it looks like they're signing him for the next 2. So he's going to be behind the wheel of the 42 for both Texas and Talladega. Just finished 11th at Bristol. Carson Hocevar is a hot commodity. He's a hot commodity. So I mean, I'm waiting for some sort of, I don't know, announcement for that kid too. But we're going to see him again 2 times at Texas at an intermediate, and then we're going to see him in the super speedway at Talladega, and I can't wait. This was something that hit, I believe, this morning or last night. Rackley parted ways with Matt DiBenedetto with just 3 races left in the truck season. At the start of the 2022 season, he signed Matt D, who's a friend of the firm, signed with Rackley in the Truck Series. And just a few weeks ago, it was announced that he would not return for the 2024 season. And normally, as far as I know, most owners or teams let the guy finish out the season, unless there's some sort of extenuating circumstance. But Rackley said no. They said that they're going to bring in, after Matt D missed the cut line by 5 points at Kansas, they said they took the 25 truck away from him and is going to have different drivers for the last 3 races. And Matt said publicly, no words can express the disappointment I'm feeling right now and also not being able to finish the season out. So I don't know. To me, if somebody is not going to be with the team next year, maybe get them out. Like I just said, Carson Hocevar is going to do the next couple of races in the 42. I don't even like that, really. Like I would think they might want to get John Hunter behind the fucking wheel, right? Just to get him some reps. So, on the outset, I don't find this to be that big of a deal. But from what I understand, this is a real break in decorum for a NASCAR team. And at the end of the day, Matt D got fucked. Am I reading this wrong?
Yeah, no, I think you like the way it usually works is you let your guy race out the season. And he seemed pretty blindsided by it from the way he tweeted. Like it didn't seem like it was something that he was expecting, but I guess the owners were kind of like, hey, if you're leaving us, we have no loyalty. Let's get somebody else in that seat. But I don't know. I think the play is you let him race it out, but
I saw something online. I don't know. I don't follow the truck series close enough to know this, but I'm pretty sure that this team has done this exact move like recently, within the last 2 or 3 years, with another driver. They fired him mid-season. We also saw, I mean, granted, obviously very different circumstances. I'm not trying to compare these, but Noah Gragson was shown the door mid-season as well, so it's not completely unheard of. But back to your thing, Large, about Carson Hocevar. It is interesting to me, like, Hocevar's running the 42 car pretty, a lot of reps in that car, whereas they already have signed John Hunter. Is it just because they're still Chevys that Carson's getting that opportunity? Like, if they were a Toyota team now, is John Hunter getting those looks? To me, if you're going to fire a guy mid-season, you already know who you're going to replace him with. You bring that replacement in ASAP. You give him the rest of the races on the schedule. It is also interesting, this team was thrown around about a potential landing spot for Noah Gragson, so we'll see what comes of that. Could they be making room to have Noah, who's recently reinstated by NASCAR, potentially drive their truck?
I think the difference with DiBenedetto is it's less about getting the new guy in there and more about getting Matty D out.
Yeah.
Like it seems more like a spite thing than like, because I don't think they really even know whoever they have driving is not of any significance. It's not the guy who's taking the seat next year. I don't think. Like I think it's more about getting him out than getting someone new in.
And so I think at the end of the day, I feel I'm Team Benedetto on this one. Even though I think it does make sense to have, if you had somebody locked up, which it doesn't seem like they do, to get into that seat. I didn't even think about it in those terms with manufacturers with Legacy Spider, but it does make a little bit of sense as far as John Hunter versus Carson Hocevar. But either way, open that, Matt has an announcement coming up in the next couple of days. If Noah was to come back and wheel the 25 truck for the last 3 races, that'd be pretty fucking cool, though, to be honest with you.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
I saw him doing some sort of small track racing. I forget where he was at.
Yeah, it was like ASA somewhere. I'd seen that last week. Finally, this one I might spend a little bit of time at. We don't have a guest this week. As the playoffs start to get deeper and deeper, it does get a little more difficult to line people up at the time that you need them. We don't have a guest this week, so I might spend an inordinate amount of time with this. But Sherry Pollock's a fixture in the NASCAR garage who championed childhood cancer research and treatment and whose fight against ovarian cancer over the last 9 years served as an inspiration to many, died this week at the age of 44. So when you are watching the race at Texas Motor Speedway this weekend, there will be a moment of silence for this extraordinary woman. There'll be a decal of hers on every one of the cars. That's pretty cool. And then her name or her logo will be painted on the infield. And if you've been to a race, that's something huge, and you'll be able to see where you can donate to everything that Sherry was a huge part of. Huge champion for pediatric cancer, and then when she was diagnosed with her own cancer, she became a huge champion fighting against ovarian cancer. Absolutely extraordinary woman. Nobody has anything bad to say about her. She was in a relationship with Martin Truex for nearly 20 years, and before the season had started sometime in January, they had announced that they had parted ways. I believe that they had said that they were keeping this one kind of close to the vest. They didn't make any kind of overt comments on why they had broken up or anything like that. And to be quite honest with you, it's none of our fucking business. But Sherry, who's a fixture at the track, has unfortunately passed away, and Martin Truex was, her partner. Like, if you see any of Martin's races, when he won the Cup or anything like that, like when he won the championship, it was him and Sherry. It was him and Sherry. Pollex and Truex, which is kind of cool. So they were fixtured together in NASCAR. Martin put out a statement. This is what I'm going to get into, guys, if you're cool with it. Martin put out a statement, as he should have. And the statement had said, from the very minute of her diagnosis, Sherry was determined to not only fight ovarian cancer with everything she had, but also make a difference in the lives of others battling this terrible disease. Sherry's passion for making a difference in the lives of others was inspiring to everyone. Through her tireless charity work for so many years, her legacy will live well beyond our lifetimes and continue to help countless families who are battling ovarian and childhood cancer. I would like to extend my deepest condolences to her entire family, who have shown incredible strength and resilience throughout her battle. And it's signed Martin Truex Jr. How do you guys feel about that press release from Martin? Does anyone have a problem with that at all?
No, I don't think you're really allowed to have a problem with
I don't think so either.
anybody's way of expressing themselves after someone dies. I know I would not really even want to have a public statement about something like that. Let alone want it to be critiqued when I do put something out.
Right. Spider?
Yeah, Martin Truex barely speaking to the media as is. He's a pretty reserved, quiet guy. To Quiggs's point, obviously he didn't want to have to write this statement, but he's got a lot of shit going on between dealing with this and expectations racing. He's not worried about what people are going to think of what his statement looks like. And again, what Quigg said, everyone has a different way of mourning and grieving. I'm not about to be casting judgment or throwing stones on how people deal with losing someone in their life. So I don't know. I'm Team Martin on this one. I didn't have any issue with it.
People like my wife, who's a huge Martin Truex fan, Marty, she calls him. I'm uncomfortable with that. When she had read it, she's like, oh, that's kind of cold. From her perspective, she thought that it was kind of clinical and perhaps written by a PR guy. And again, she wasn't saying it in a dig, and then I did explain to her, the only time we got a rise out of Martin here is one, when he found out that I was a jinx, and two, when he found out that we went fishing. Otherwise, he does kind of go right down the middle. He shows up for work, drives, and goes home. So I can understand somebody might say to themselves, that was a little bit, corporate or prepared.
If you covered up the name on it, what it was signed, and it's who do you think put this out, you're probably not going to guess a partner of 17 years was the one who made that statement.
Yeah. And again, Spider said it perfectly. People grieve in different ways. And some people don't have the desire nor the skill set to write weepy odes to passed away loved ones. And that's fucking okay. Reason I mention this, Danica Patrick, she not quote tweets, she puts this thing on her Instagram story. By the way, Danica Patrick is followed by nearly 1 million people. And she puts Martin's statement, and above it, she puts her own statement. I avoid negativity on social at almost all costs. Almost. But this is the most insensitive, disconnected statement from a guy that I have never liked. And obviously for good reason. I don't care what happened between them, but this is as cold as it gets. A PR rep wrote this guaranteed. You're free from this now, Sherry, with a heart emoji. I got to be honest. when I read this, I had asked a couple of people, am I missing something? Like, is there some sort of huge, despicable history between either Martin and Sherry or Martin and Danica? And even if there was, this wasn't the time or the place for this myopic fucking moron to write something like this. So as far as people have been sort of pussyfooting around with this too on podcasts and obviously on NASCAR promoted thing. And I don't know how much a relationship NASCAR has with Danica Patrick, but this, please don't let me use the C word. This girl should be fucking embarrassed.
Use it.
She should be fucking embarrassed because what she had done here was took something that is a legitimate tragedy. Legitimate tragedy. Sherry Pollux was taken from us way too young. Way too young. And she turned it into something about herself. And here's the fucking newsflash. She doesn't fucking matter. Like, Danica Patrick doesn't fucking matter, particularly with this. So if there was an extenuating circumstance, what Danica Patrick should have done in this case was shut the fuck up about it. And that's the way that it should have went down. I miss my friend Sherry. By the way, Danica Patrick wrote an ode to Sherry that looked like it was from a fucking 2-bit Hallmark card. It was embarrassing to read. So if you want to start pulling shit apart, her shit's not perfect. Nothing about her is fucking perfect, so she should just shut the fuck up. That's my personal statement on Danica Patrick commenting and saying, by the way, you're free from this now, Sherry. I don't know why. That infuriates me.
That line kind of like...
That infuriates me. Martin Truex will never comment on this. I don't think anyone should ever ask him about this piece of shit saying this about him. Honestly, I don't think anyone ever should because it's absolutely embarrassing. It's out of left field. I don't want you to cancel anybody, honest to God, because I say some inappropriate stuff all the time, but I'll stand by it. This should be taken down. She shouldn't be embarrassed, or she should have a fucking PR rep do her stuff for the rest of the time. Sounds like an absolute fucking moron. So anyway, that's not what people should take away from. Do you guys have any disagreement? I know Quiggs had come in saying, "Oh, I'll play the Danica role. I'll stick up for her."
I thought that there was maybe something to it because the way she was talking, I was like, "Oh, there must have been like something that Truex did that was very like, I don't know. I don't even want to like put examples, but like I don't know, like cheating on like his girlfriend who's going through like cancer treatment and stuff like that." Like I was like, there must be something that like, oh, as like a best friend, she knows this is happening, and I just like really didn't see any of that, and it just very like I don't know. I don't think you can take Danica's side unless like there's something awful that we don't know. But I just don't think like she's. I don't know.
Spider, this is less than a day. This saint is dead for less than a day. And this person puts out something where she says, from a guy that I never liked. So that right away gives it the feel of a personal vendetta. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't care what
there's
happens.
Definitely ulterior motives. Yeah. Like she has to have obviously she has personal beef with Martin Truex. But to me, this is a bitch-made move. Like you can't snoop to this level unless everyone else is privy to like what happened. With no context, just trashing Martin Truex the day that his fucking partner of 17 years died. Is it crazy?
Yeah. So again, I think we would be put through the ringer if we were to just start calling her names and whatnot, because I know that's something that kind of comes back to bite people in the ass. But in the same way that somebody had once told LeBron James to shut up and dribble, I think that Danica Patrick should truly shut the fuck up in this case and possibly put out a apology to the Pollux family and the Truex family, because that is an absolute disgrace. All right, so that's it. So that made my head hurt. Like, honestly.
You cooked her ass large.
Yeah, I apologize.
R.I.P. Danica, too. I mean, she's dead after that. I was just
talking to Annie about, like, Annie's, when her dad died. Like, imagine if somebody brought that up, like, when somebody real to you dies and they bring up some sort of personal event. There's nothing Martin could have done that would make that timing correct. Like you saying cheat, like we can make stuff up, and I don't want to because
I didn't even want to do like fake
Yeah,
examples because it's
yeah,
like I
like
don't know.
yeah, like Martin could have been responsible for the terrorist attacks of 9/11. We'll put something wild out there. That's
Yeah.
not the fucking time nor place to all of a sudden put out a cryptic message to a million people on Instagram. This isn't somebody who's shouting into a pillow or said it over dinner with a couple of friends. She put it out to a million people. Fuck you, Danica Patrick. All right, let's move on. We're going to go to this week's race. We'll do the recap and the over-under. And it's brought to you by Coca-Cola. Nothing helps me relax after I have a little bit of a rant than a Coca-Cola Zero Sugar. Coca-Cola Zero Sugar, to me, is a beautiful break in the day, and it's a perfect beverage to have while you're sitting down and watching a race. Is this the best Coke ever? I don't know. There's only one way to find out, and that's to taste it. Unfortunately, we lost a member of the Coca-Cola family of drivers as far as the playoffs go when Joey Logano did not go through this weekend, did not make it through this weekend. So I'm toasting Joey, right? Our 2022 champion. Gone too soon in these playoffs. He'll be back stronger than ever next year. Thank you so much, Coke. Alrighty. Good weekend of racing. I thought it was a good weekend of racing starting with Friday. Did you guys see anything of that? See any of that Dale Jr. clip? Dale Jr. fucking had... So, obviously, the Cup race was on Saturday night. The Xfinity race was Friday. Dale Jr. is running in it. He had the lead for a while. People thought maybe Dale Jr. had the ability to win a race, and everyone got really excited about it. He had a fire inside his car where it burnt like his fire suit. The woman who was interviewing him afterwards said, "Wow, Dale, you smell terrible." And he said he pointed down, and like his whole bell bottom was charred.
Burnt off.
Yeah, which was the guy's just a fucking stud. But then one of the guys for JR Motorsport was it a little Gator, Allgaier, Justin Allgaier, our guy, winds up winning. And when Allgaier comes in to drive into victory lane, Big Gator, his dad, who's the biggest tire salesman in the Midwest, the guy's a fucking stud, goes and sits in the window on the passenger side of his son's car. I think he had an American flag or a checkered, one of American or a checkered flag. And then Dale sits in Allgaier's window, like on the thing. And that's how he drove into victory lane. And unfortunately for JR Motorsports, everybody else with them had crashed. Cost them a lot of money to run this race. Everybody fucking wrecked, but they came away with a win, and they had that spot where everyone was cheering for Dale Jr. again. It was a great Friday night. It was a great Friday, for Xfinity and for race fans. And then Saturday came along. We were on Bristol, and we lost 4 drivers, obviously. Reigning champ Joey Logano got into lap 262 crash with Corey LaJoie. We lost Michael McDowell and Ricky Stenhouse, even though they both had top 10 finishes. It just wasn't enough. And unfortunately, we lost Kevin Harvick. What's the biggest surprise out of those 4? Out of those 4 guys that we had lost, who are you guys most disappointed with?
I would say Logano. I would say Logano just because I think he looked better than Harvick this year, in my opinion, and I expected more from him in the playoffs. So I didn't have him in my first 4 out.
I'd agree with that from like a actual skill, and like Logano in a way like could have won the whole thing this year. That's just like how he is. He can string together races. I was just disappointed that it's like not the end of Harvick's like career, but essentially it is.
Yeah, like don't get me wrong, I was rooting for Harvick to stay alive, but I'm not surprised that he's out, unfortunately.
Bubba made it through and like was a little bit cocky about it, and people won't really talk about his cockiness because obviously Denny Hamlin's involved. But Bubba did that thing where he's sitting next to his car giving the shh type thing to all the haters. He was pretty emotional afterwards, but congratulations to him because I think we all had him going out in the first round, but he made it to the round of 12. The race was fine. Chris Bell won stage 1 and stage 2. Kyle Larson and Denny were put to the back of the pack for speeding violations, and they both clawed their way back up to P1 and P2. Kyle Larson is having a first-round playoff performance for the ages. In the first 3 races of this playoff season, I think he's averaging a 2.5, which is just absolutely fantastic. I saw an interview with him yesterday, and the young lady doing the interview said, "There's so much for people to watch." Kyle, with football being in full blown, being in full season, she was like, "Do you follow football?" Like that's what she said to Kyle Larson, and Kyle Larson's like, "Nah, all he does is fucking race. It's
The race
all
guy.
he does. All he does. He'll race 4 times, this week in different type of cars. Kyle Larson is a no bullshit, 100% pure racer, and he's having a great playoffs. But it was Denny Hamlin. Denny's his 3rd win of the season, his 3rd career win at Bristol. It's his 51st career win. He got his 50th at Pocono, I believe. And it's his 7th season with at least 3 wins. So congratulations to Denny. And I think he gave the all-time quote after the win. When the crowds were booing him afterwards and they had a microphone in his face and he yelled out to the crowd, "I just beat all your favorite drivers." And then the guy interviewing him said, "Which one?" And he said, "All of them." Like, that's what he said to the crowd.
The
That's fucking
interview,
wild.
the interviewer, the question that like set him up was great.
Yeah.
Like that, because if he just let it go, if it was just I just beat your favorite driver, and then Mike goes back in the pocket, doesn't say anything, it's whatever of a quote. But that back and forth on the question was what made it just a stone cold, like, great clip.
Is there anybody better to embrace the villain right now in NASCAR Spider than Denny Hamlin?
I don't know about right now. I think he's at the prime, the peak of his villainness. He's always good for one-liners like what we heard there. But I think Ross Chastain could have given him a run for his money. It seems like at this point last year, Ross was really on that trajectory, and he's since been kind of like neutered or a little bit more reserved with the way he's racing, whereas Denny's kind of went the other way with it and is just like, going crazy. So I think Ross would probably be the guy I could see one-upping him in terms of being a heel, but for whatever reason, he does not seem like he's interested in doing that, at least at this point in his career.
And plus, I just don't think that Ross has as much to hang his hat on, right? Because he's having a worse season than he did last year. And the same thing with Kyle Busch. Like, Kyle Busch has somehow gone from, heel to hero without even trying. But this is sort of something that I would expect to hear from a Kyle Busch. But honestly, nobody does it better than Denny. And then even in the press conference, when you win at Bristol, the last Coliseum they call it, they give you that cool sword. I think Denny's got 3 of them now. And he said, anyone's got a problem with it? He fucking pulled out the sword. So he really is embracing this whole thing. And I think it's making for better watching. Like, to have somebody to root against is sometimes as important as having somebody to root for. Anything that you saw this weekend that would be an over or an under, Spider?
Yeah, I got a few for you, Large.
Please.
I'm going to start with Chris Buescher, P4. He had relatively long odds for the guys that were a legitimate threat to win this race, and I think he over-delivered by finishing 4th. He was the best Ford. Ty Gibbs finished 5th. Really impressed with him. He's been having a great rookie season despite not making the playoffs and being super close. I've been really impressed with everything I've seen from Ty this year. McDowell cut from the playoffs, but he finished P6. Front row found speed late in this season, and I've been really impressed with McDowell despite him getting eliminated. And then my last over is Carson Hocevar finishing 11th. This guy's been fucking unreal, and hopefully I'm fairly confident we'll see him in the Cup Series next year. So I'm excited for that, and hopefully he can look just as sharp as he does with Legacy right now for whatever team he's with next year.
Anybody screw the pooch? Any unders?
Truex, I think he finished around 20th, and then Logano, but I mean that's no fault to him. So those are my 2 underwhelmers, but some context is essential for those.
Yeah.
I was really surprised with this isn't really related at all. I just randomly thought of this. Austin Cindric's wreck where he got off airborne like that. That was pretty
cool.
Surprising, especially for maybe Daytona you expect that, but Bristol I expect all the cars to be relatively
what word
fixed
I've
to the
heard
ground.
more this season than like ever? Toe
What's
link.
that?
Toe
Oh
link.
yeah,
Just broken toe link.
broken toe link.
That I don't know if it's something to do with the next gen cars or it's just something that I'm hearing more this season. It's just broken toe link every time.
It's the crappy ass parts, man.
Yeah, and brake rotors when we were in St. Louis, right at Gateway.
Or
I
Michigan?
heard,
Was it
yeah,
Michigan?
Michigan.
Or
Yeah,
was it St.
maybe.
Louis?
Yeah, it might have been Gateway. Yeah, tow links all over the place. I will tell you, over under, like Toyota in general, all five that made the playoffs are still alive, and then three of the four Fords that made the playoffs are eliminated. So Ford's got to be an underperformer, right? I think Ryan Blaney might be the sole Ford left in the playoffs, alive in the
Uh,
playoffs.
Chris Buescher, Brad K, but Blaney's the only non RFK
Right,
car.
right. Yeah, I'm sorry. One last thing I will say before we go on, and did you happen to see the Pockrass versus Blaney smoke at the end of the race?
Oh, I did. He got like shouldered, right?
Yeah, Bob Pockrass. Go check it out. So Sirius XM, maybe NASCAR, they had this young lady was asking a question about Kevin Harvick to Kevin Harvick as Kevin was walking. And so Pockrass was trying to maybe like record it on his phone. So he was, in a bad situation following along while Harvick was walking, and he blasts into Blaney. Like he just bumps him. It bumps him pretty hard. And Blaney turns around like, what the fuck? Now, keep in mind, Blaney just got out of his race car, and, Logano just got. So Blaney gives him a shove. And I was like, oh, this is delicious. A 56-year-old Bob Pockrass versus a 29-year-old Ryan Blaney and Rough and Rowdy. Like, all of a sudden, these things started to go through my head. I wanted all that smoke. Because perhaps Bob Pockrass knows jiu-jitsu. I know very little about this fucking guy, but he can be a stone-cold killer. And then Blaney had put out a statement saying that there was some mutual sorries involved and shit like that. So there will be no smoke. So that's my under. My under is that we're not going to see a Ryan Blaney versus Bob Pockrass just fucking square up. But it is
I
what it
don't.
is.
No.
I don't think you can get mad at Bob Pockrass. He's
No.
so lovable.
Yeah,
Yeah, Blaney definitely just like didn't realize what happened, and then
Blaney probably got like ran over by him. Like it probably was like if it was just a bystander, it would probably be like, "Hey, what are you doing?" Like I'm standing here, but it's just Bob like trying to get the cell phone just shot in someone's face.
did you see Bob at the Bristol foam party?
Yeah, it's his happy place.
That's my favorite tradition every year is just watching Bob go crazy whenever they go to Bristol.
Yeah, he's the best. We have to get him on it. We have to get him on
We're
the
gonna
show.
get him in studio.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might have to come back to New York for that one.
I think you should. Like, I think if it's one of those ones where you come back, I mean, obviously if we get, I don't know. But I think Bob Pockrass is the one for us to kind of double team him.
He's
here.
our white
Get that
whale.
for what it is, yeah. All right, so paint schemes. Anything jump out at you from this week? Anything? I mean, we spoke about the Chase Elliott car on last
Yep.
week's show going into this.
I
and we're
will
all
say
pretty
I don't
fucking
think it
hyped.
looked as good on the track.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it did seem to not have that black and gold bullet that I thought it was going to be. I mean, I think he finished 7th, and he's running out of races. But yeah, that was the one we talked about going in. Anything else jump out at you?
Yeah, I like the Chase Elliott one. I thought it was fine, despite what Quiggs just said. I thought it held up on the track. I kind of really like Corey LaJoie's 7 car this week. It was a cancer fundraiser scheme. So there's this girl that had cancer. She made these things called joy jars, which they basically just pack a jar full of like toys and games and shit for kids, and then they go to the hospitals and bring them to all the kids with cancer. And she's raised a shit ton of money and delivered a bunch of these to the hospitals. So I really liked Corey LaJoie's. That was a nice touch. And then the 2311 cars, Radix, another musical guest, and then Bubba's Columbia 23 looked cool too. I kind of liked the gradient, how it was light up front and got darker as it went back. Those are my winners from this week. Did I miss any, Quigs?
No, I was gonna say Bubba's Columbia one. I thought Almirola's was kind of weird. It was like he was running
Oh, no.
2 completely different schemes, like chopped in half. But I guess there's probably some sort of Smithfield IHOP partnership. But
I'm glad you mentioned that one. That was on my top paint schemes a couple weeks ago, but I love it. Yeah, I think IHOP maybe served Smithfield like bacon and sausages and shit, but
Gotta
I
be what it
liked
is.
it. A splash of color on the 10 car this week. I won't complain about that.
But yeah, they just don't like blend. It's just like half the car is IHOP, half the car is Smithfield. Like it's kind of funny the way they do that.
They should do like left and right instead of front and back.
Yeah.
I wonder what you would pay more for.
Oh, you pay more for the side that's not on the
inside.
wall the whole time.
Right. I
Yeah,
get, yeah, because the fans would be the only people seeing the IHOP on the outside,
yeah.
because very rarely do you get that camera angle, like the top and the inside. Yeah, so you probably get it for like a discount. Ooh, that would be sad. All of a sudden, IHOP's got like the bargain basements. Whatever. Fuck IHOP. All that I saw going into this week is I kind of like when Interstate Batteries does the lightning bolt, the green lightning bolt. So they're going to be doing it on two of the JGR cars, and so I really like the 54, the way it looks with the black and green lightning bolts. So keep an eye out for that. I haven't seen anything else really special going into it. We're going to preview this week. Previews brought to you by NASCAR. This week is the Auto Trader Echo Park Automotive 400 from Texas Motor Speedway. Again, it's at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Sunday. You can catch it on USA. It's a mile and a half track with stage breaks at lap 80, lap 160, and obviously the flag drops after 267. It's the 43rd Cup Series race of the season. 43. We've been doing this now, guys, for 43 weeks, right? Something else. The 2022 winner was Tyler Reddick. Listen, they're going to be doing 267 laps, and it's going to be 100 degrees. It's going to be one of those ones like you in Richmond, Spider. It's going to be very hot in that car. It's going to be absolutely ferocious on those tires. So it's a point reset for the round of 12. So even though Martin Truex was sweating it out, trying to stay into it in the round of 16. Once we get to the round of 12, the points reset. So your top four right now are William Byron, Martin Truex Jr., Denny Hamlin, and Kyle Larson. Those are your top four. And then your bottom four, and I'm going to ask you guys a question about this. Your bottom four are Chastain, Brad Keselowski, Ryan Blaney, and Bubba Wallace. Right? So they're below the cut line right now for the round of 8, with 3 races to go at Texas, Dega, and Roval. When I tell you guys, I'm going to ask you guys, outside of those bottom 4, which are kind of the obvious answer right now, Chastain, Brad, K, Blaney, and Bubba, who do you think is the Joey Logano of this round? Who do you think, who's not in the bottom 4 now, will ultimately not make it to the round of 8? Does any driver jump out at you?
You
Yeah.
go first, Spider.
For me, it's Christopher Bell. He's had speed and a great car all season. You look at where this past weekend, I think he won both the first 2 stages, and he led a shit ton of laps up front. So the difference is he has a great car. He runs very fast. He wins poles, etc. He cannot put it together in the races. Something always goes wrong, whether it be the pit crew or he gets caught up in traffic or he can't get past lap traffic. There's always something going on with the 20 car. Even now that he's got Ty Gibbs pit crew in, the better of the crews, they're still having issues. That car's still not finishing where it's capable of finishing. So for that reason, and based on what I've seen the last several weeks, Christopher Bell is the answer for me. Tyler Reddick looked nasty. Kyle Busch, I'm a little bit concerned about. I mean, Chris Buescher, we've seen how he's raced. He's a threat. You guys know how I feel about him. Larson and Byron are 2 guys we have championship futures on. And then Truex and Hamlin have really been carrying the torch at Joe Gibbs Racing from my perspective, which leaves Christopher Bell as the odd man out.
I like it.
That probably would have been my pick too. We've talked about it a lot, how it's just he's great at some stuff, he's not great at winning. But I'll go Chris Buescher. I think he's been overperforming like crazy, and maybe that'll continue, but if he stops overperforming, he's not a top 8 driver. And ultimately, what this really will be is the guy who's in that top 8 that doesn't make it is somebody who's just going to be very unlucky and did not finish on a race, and that could be Denny. Like if Denny goes out in Texas, somebody spins him, he gets in the wall, breaks his toe link.
Right.
He's not in a good spot and like might not make it, and no doing of his own. But I'll go with Chris Buescher, just from the fact that like he's so overperforming that if he goes back to not overperforming, he might not be in that top 8.
So none of us
Who
are
would you take, Larch?
none of us are taking guys who are in the top 4. looks like we all are agreement that Byron, Truex, Hamlin, and Larson are safe. So we're going for that second 4, and we got it pretty well covered with you picking the 5 seed right now, Chris Buescher, and you picking the 7 seed. I'm going to thread the needle and take the 6. Kyle Busch has been kind of invisible lately. And I think that Kyle Busch has the opportunity to perhaps have, get sent into the wall and end his day early at Talladega. There could be things that, believe me, Kyle Busch has the opportunity to perhaps win all 3 races. I don't doubt it. But if I had to pick one guy that I wouldn't be surprised to see not make it to the round of 8, I'm going to go with Kyle Busch. I'm going to try to remember that because I don't remember who he picked on that first thing. But I have Kyle not advancing. Spider, you have Bell not advancing. And you have Buescher, which I totally disagree with. Quigs, as we're going into picking
which
the
is
tires.
fair.
Yeah, 100%.
Same.
Very fair. Like, he's been a beast lately, and I'm just kind of going on the maybe he falls off a little bit.
Do you have time? Can you stick around for picking the tires? Quigs?
Let me go first, and I'll just dip right after them.
We're going to go right to picking the tires right now, and for everyone to give their picks for the Auto Trader Echo something 400 blah 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 blah. This week's race at Texas Motor Speedway. Who do you got?
I got Tyler Reddick plus 700 to win. I think he's raced here 4 times. Has a win, 2 top 5s maybe. And he's plus. I think he has the highest average finish or lowest average finish of any driver here. And getting him at plus 700, I like that a lot.
He's the only guy in that second 4, that I talked about. He's the only guy that we didn't take. The 3 of us had left him alone. So, okay, so you like Tyler to win plus 700?
And I think at the spot he's at, he's probably feeling like a win would be very important for him to move on.
Mm-hmm.
And then Harvick's a beast at Texas. He's out of the playoffs now, but I don't think for a lot of drivers that would affect how I pick them. I don't think Kevin Harvick changes anything. These are the last few races of his career. I don't think he is going to like sit back and do whatever. So I got Kevin Harvick top 5 plus 450.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people have a problem with that because he, I think a lot of people jumped on him in Bristol. So they're like, fuck it, that's the last time I ever waste money on Kevin Harvick. But yeah, so Harvick, top 5 plus 450. You want to go, Spider, or you want me?
I'm gonna dip out, boys.
Take care, Quigs.
See you, Quigs. Thank you.
About time we got rid of Quigs, huh, Spider? Holy shit.
That fucking unbelievable.
Guy. Where do you think he's going?
Probably a Hillary convention.
No, I think he's getting the Hillary tattoo because remember when he had it first done, he didn't have any color in it, so I think they're putting in the gray hair, right?
There you go.
The blue dress. Yeah, I think he's getting the Hillary tattoo retouched. Good riddance.
There we go.
Go ahead.
I think I'm going to go with William Byron plus 650. Although, you know what? Fuck it. Run me 3 picks here.
Go.
All outright winners. I'm taking Byron plus 650, Truex plus 800, and Chris Buescher plus 1,000. We got a Chevy, we got a Toyota, and we got a Ford. Actually, that's probably really dumb. I should have taken Ryan Blaney, who's also 10-1 as my Ford. He's been great at this track. In 4 races here, he has 4 top 10s, as does Brad Keselowski. The last 4 races, he has 4 top 10s. Fuck it. Give me 5 picks this week.
Whoa.
I'm going with
by the way, we have some overlap now. You and I have got some overlap. That's bad. So
I'm going
go ahead.
Byron, Truex, Buescher, all to win. And then I want Brad K and Ryan Blaney top 10.
Okay, now Brad K and Ryan Blaney, top 10, are not going to pay you well at all. The reason I know this is because I'm going to take, and I'm writing them down, I got Blaney top 3. And he's only paying plus 350. That's a top 3. And I got Brad K top 5, and he's only paying plus 175. So you're going minus money to get top 10s on those guys. So keep that in mind.
All right, maybe I'll make him top 5.
Okay, so I got Blaney top 3, Brad K top 5, and I'm taking Buescher to win. I'm taking the plus 1,000 where I think you're on it with me. So his P4, casual P4 last week is just becoming commonplace. And he's been on such a tear being in the top 5s and whatnot since that first win at Richmond. Top 5s, top 10s. He wins at Richmond, P1. Wins at Michigan, P1. Then he goes to Indy. He finished 11th. Watkins Glen, 7th. Daytona, 1. Darlington, 3. Kansas shits the bed, and then Bristol, 4. This guy is on a tear. And, I know that Quiggs is saying he'd be least surprising to kind of get bounced. Like maybe he's ahead of his skis, perhaps Quiggs was trying to say. But I'm buying into it. I got Buescher to win. He's my only outright to win at plus 1,000. We're both now on Brad K plus 175 for a top 5.
Yep.
And do you want to try and see what Blaney top 5? I took him top 3.
Now I feel like we just have the same card.
We do.
So.
You still have Byron, you still have Martin, and you still have Blaney, right? And you still have. No, we do have a lot. We have Buescher, Brad, and Blaney.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe I'll take Brad K or Chris Buescher off and just add RFK to win.
RFK to win. That is probably a better bet. RFK to win. So Byron winning at plus 650, Martin to win, RFK to win, and then Blaney top 5. Is that probably about right?
Yeah. Yeah, I made a mess of this week's card, but fuck it. We'll stick with that.
Okay, I gotcha. All right, so we're all over it. Everybody enjoy the race this Sunday, 3:30 on USA, and we'll speak to you next week. Oh, wait, hold on a sec. Before we go, we have another. What do we got?
Tune into Barstool's Most Dangerous Game Show. We're 4 episodes deep. A lot of drama coming down to the line. No spoilers, but definitely worth watching. Someone's going home with $25,000 out of me and my 7 Barstool coworkers that spent a week in the mountains of Colorado doing the most dangerous Fear Factor game show challenges you can think of. So if you haven't seen it, go check it out. Don't miss the finale.
People are getting pushed out of planes. People are getting covered in maggots. People are swimming with fucking snakes. This isn't one of those things where, this is stuff that if they asked me to do it, I would have said no. My old ass heart couldn't take it. And Spider is doing all of this shit. So tune in and see whether or not, obviously I'm pulling for Spider. He gets a shout out to 25K. Outside of that, we'll see you guys at the track at Roval. That's the next one we're going to. Then we'll see you again at the track at Phoenix. We may have something to announce about that race in Phoenix in the next couple of weeks. And that's it. Thanks very much. We'll see you next week on Rubbing is Racing.